Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the First Kiss podcast, and welcome to its new series, the First Global Series. We are hosting people with achievements from the First Kiss Club Association, and we are very glad to have them here with us. They are all members of First Global Challenge teams, whether from the previous editions or the new 2019 edition. So today we will be talking about an important matter since we are approaching the first global challenge, and it's only 2 weeks until the challenge. We are going to discuss more about the driving, which is a crucial part in the challenge since it might have a great impact on the score and surely will. It's even sometimes more important than the technical things that are done in the robot. And today, we are happy to have here with me Sirin, a former member of the 2018 team. Hi.
Hi.
I have Semi, former member of the 2017
Hello.
team. And I have two members of my team, the 2019 team. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so before talking more about driving, we will be discussing first how the experience of gaming or playing video games in your childhood affects your driving skills that are a big factor in being chosen as a driver in the first global challenge team. So we will start with you, Semi. Can you please start by introducing yourself and then talking to us more about your childhood and how it's related to gaming?
Hello everyone, my name is Semi Masmoudi. I am 18 years old. I'm a coach in the First Kiss Club and I'm a member in the 2017 First Global Challenge Team Tunisia. I used to play a lot of games in my childhood with my computer. So I noticed that gaming helps a lot with driving your robot. But I see a big difference in the way you get used to the analogs in your joystick. Because when you play on the computer, it's like everything is in front of you, and you can choose different perspective you want. You can see, for example, if you're driving a car or driving a plane or playing like a soccer, you can change your perspective. You can see it from above, from the back. You can choose the perspective that suits you. And the thing that differs in the game is that your robot is like 4 or 5 meters away from you, and you can't move from your place. So you have to stay in one place and then focus on the robot and how it's moving. And sometimes when you move an arm, for example, it's moved by a servo. You can't really see if it's opened or not, or if you're catching a ball, it becomes really difficult. So I think the matter of perspective and how you see your the objective that you're controlling, it's what makes it different from gaming. But gaming really helps improving your driving skills.
Yeah, that is really great. And speaking to you, Karim, so you are a driver in our team, and yes. The decision of being a driver comes from your experience in your childhood, from being a gamer and being used to analogs and controllers. So can you please tell us more about this experience and why you got chosen?
Well, actually, when I was a kid, I used to play a lot of games. At the beginning, I was playing car games and like games that are not allowed for
Kids your age.
yeah. Okay. So like the couple last years, I went more into gaming while playing more mechanical games that improves your skills at combining your combining your will of brain will power with your hands. So actually, when you're playing, you know how to coordinate between your two hands and
think of the strategy at the same
yes.
time. Yeah.
And like control a lot of things at the same time without losing control of what's happening at the same time and losing your goal in front of you.
Yeah. So really playing video games really affects the way your driving is, and even affects your how you feel during the match, since you are used to pressure in the games, and you are playing video games online with teams So you really get used to thinking of a strategy and coordinating with people.
Yes.
When you drive, you really need to have the environment that is basically the field. Since in the first global challenge we can't actually bring fields here in our local, we have our methods of bringing a field-like environment. I'd like to know more about that in the 2018 edition. So how did you manage to get an environment that looks like a field, and how did you practice?
Okay, so first, it was during the preparation camp of the first global challenge. So we had a team of volunteers who are First Kids Club members and coaches. We gathered a team that had to prepare the field. So they really helped us make a great field according to the dimensions that were indicated in the document.
Yeah, how did you manage to do so? So did you you can't actually purchase or purchase the field. So how did you manage to make something close to it?
Yeah, so using papers, cards, and a lot of materials from that stuff. We tried to look for the exact dimensions, and we tried to prepare an exact field that looks similar to the first global field.
That's great. So here in the 2019 edition, we have also made our fields using materials that aren't really found in a normal field. So can you please tell us more about how we managed to create such an environment, and how did we practice?
First, let me introduce myself. Hello, my name is Zainab Malish. I'm 15 years old and I'm player 2019. And I'm a member in the 2019 First Global Challenge Team Tunisia. So we got inspired by the First Global Challenge Team Tunisia 2018 because they figure out how to create their own practice field. So as we know, in the 2019 game, we have a ramp. So we actually had a ramp, and we always practice on it. We also calculate dimensions to practice how to go to the goal and score the balls. So the ramp helped us a lot because we practiced a lot with our robots and how we can go to the ramp and come back and score, and it was great.
Yeah, and also something funny we did is that we used the hanger as tables, and we used them as wood and things that are really not normally found in a field, we started to make our field from scratch. Okay, so moving on to something else. When you are in the competition, so when you are in the field, you really need to talk with the team you are going to have a match with. You need to discuss the strategy, and I'd like to know how the atmosphere of working or coordinating with the alliance you are having a match with is like. So can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I remember when we went to First Global in its first edition. We played different matches with a lot of teams. So before each match, we have to meet with the teams in our lines to coordinate with them and share our views on our mission in the game. So we have to discuss our strategies, and we have to give each team a role in the game so that we don't lose time and we score as much point as possible. But the problem is that sometimes coordination is not doesn't go that good. I mean, you can agree with the team that he will score, for example, the micropollutants, and you will score the macropollutants. But then that team will forget about it and just do what they want. So sometimes it becomes difficult, and the roles goes to your team to have to manage this situation and adapt to not lose time and points, even though the other team is not really cooperating with you as just like you wished. So so coordination is important. But even if the other team didn't cooperate, the role of the drivers becomes very important in the game. So the two drivers have to be very acquainted with playing with each other, and yeah, they have to coordinate. For example, the one driver will control the wheels, and the other will control the other moving parts, like the hanging hands, and for example, if there are mechanisms to catch balls, intake and outtake, etc. They have to practice together, and they have to coordinate so they can play the game as score as much point as possible. In 2017, for example, I went with the drivers as a timekeeper and a tactician in the game. There were two drivers, and the job was very difficult for them, because I remember the two teams weren't really cooperating with us. So we had to just adapt and improvise in the game. One driver had to control the wheels and move the robot, and the other had to read the feedback from telemetry data to see if the motors are working well, and if the mechanisms are working as intended and as we practiced on. So coordination is very important.
Yeah.
And that comes with that needs a lot of practice. So even in the real game, when we are going to play, the drivers can adapt to the situation and overcome the difficulties of it doesn't matter which are the teams that are going to play with you. You have to be as good as possible and score as many points as possible on your own, not relying on everybody in the game. You have to be ready and prepared before the game. Yeah.
Okay, so this mistake of not coordinating well with a team can really make you lose time, and it affects the strategy you have in the match. And something else that really affects the strategy of the match is accidents that really aren't that planned, or that we don't have like a plan B. So tell me about an accident. I think I've heard of an accident that happened in the first Global Challenge in your edition, which is to the 2018 edition. Can you please explain more about what happened and what did you do about it?
Okay. So the problem was that our second driver was ill during the competition. So it was, I think, the second day, and we were not practiced. We didn't have time to practice for our matches. So we didn't find any member who will take part in the driving process. So the problem started in the first match, because as I said, the second driver was ill, so she had to stay in bed, and she couldn't even stand up for 5 minutes. So it was really hard, and she was in a very bad situation, and we as well. So what I really advise the 2019 team is that you should all prepare for the driving process. You should all practice, because we don't know what can happen, or we always have to own a B plan. So for us, we try to make one of our team members practice for 3 hours, and try to be the second driver. But it was really hard for her, because 3 hours is really are not enough to learn how to drive well. So for that match we gained, but for the second match she couldn't practice that well, because our mission was harder, and especially for parking the robot. So yeah, it was really hard, and it was stressful moment. But what we can do is make the drivers feel comfortable and feel less stressful. So
yeah, that really plays an important role, as you said, feeling comfortable with driving and being feeling that you are prepared is even enough. And something we can relate to, me and Zainab, is when we participated in international competition, and we found that there is a team that is working alone. So we participated as volunteers to help that member see the time, see the field, and advise him of what's happening, and give him being really his assistant while driving. And I think you relate to this event too. I think you cooperated with a team of Team Palestine.
Yeah.
Tell us more about cooperating with Team Palestine, and why is that?
Yeah, so the reason that we were cooperating with Team Palestine is that the team members couldn't be present during the competition. So only the mentor was present, with the robot, and no members to drive, no drivers. So we had to help him in order to, play in the challenge. So we tried to practice for some hours for the first match. We tried to, manipulate the robot because we're not used to drive it, or we're not used to. The program is not the same as our robots. So it was really hard to figure out how can we deal, in few hours with the robot. So we volunteered to help him for some matches, the ones that we don't have, because it's a matter of time management.
Yeah.
So when we hadn't a match, in the same time as Team Palestine, we were volunteering in order to help him drive with the robot, because it was prevented for a mentor to drive his own robot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I really thank the other team members from Lebanon, from Syria, and a lot of teams that participated in helping Team Palestine. So yeah, it was a great experience, and it was really stressful, but yeah, we managed that.
Yeah, so accidents like that can happen all the time. We should be prepared. So in our team, in the 2019 edition, we are trying to avoid those problems of lacking drivers because of illness or any kind of issue that prevents them from being present. And we are trying to be all drivers and be all human players, so we don't get affected by such issues. Can you please tell us more about how we are preparing and seeing that you are the human player? How did you manage to practice more? So I think you did some funny activities.
Yeah, so the human player should put the balls in the robot. So you shouldn't put all the balls at once. So you should pull
one at a time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what did I do is we bought eggs, and we tried to put all the eggs. It was so funny.
In another container, yeah.
Yeah.
Like at a very high speed, so we are sure that she can be the perfect human player we can get.
I guess you broke half of them.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, we are all drivers. No one knows what can happen in a match, so we should be prepared, and also be in contact with alliances, so we can prevent. Or not prevent, we can confront problems with them. Cooperation is really important, and you mentioned that in your example. So making sure you have a plan B is very important. And I think that's it for our episode for today. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you my guests for being here. And we hope to see you in the next episode. Make sure to follow us. We have all of our contacts linked in the description below. And thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Was it short?